The Japanese passport can get you into 97% of all of the countries on Earth. If you're not good at math, that's 189 countries. If you compare this to other major countries around the world, then the Japanese passport is stronger than the passports of the USA, Canada, UK, Russia, China, and pretty much the rest of the world. And for 5 straight years, between 2018 and 2022, the Japanese passport ranked as the most powerful passport in the world. Now, if a country has the most powerful passport in the world, then you'd expect that most of the people in that country would absolutely want to get their hands on this passport and enjoy all of the access benefit that it offers, right? In the case of Japan, that assumption is wrong. To the rest of the world, the Japanese passport might be the most powerful, but in Japan, nobody wants it. So here's the headline. Japan has a population of 125 million people, but according to the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, fewer than 20% of the entire country currently hold their passports. Again, if you're bad at math, that means there's around 100 million Japanese people that have a right to one of the most powerful passports in the world, but have simply decided that they don't want it. It's like literally offering people a pot of gold, but having only a few people show up to collect it.
To put this in perspective, let's compare the rate of passport collection in Japan with other countries that also have really strong passports. Remember, Japan has a population of 125 million, and less than 20% of Japanese people have passports. Now let's compare. The UK has the 3rd strongest passport in the world and a population of nearly 70 million people, and 77% of British people have passports. Canada has the 6th strongest passport in the world and a population of nearly 40 million people, and 70% of Canadians also have international passports. And finally, the US has the 7th strongest passport in the world and a population of around 330 million people, and 56% of Americans have international passports. So clearly, Japan is a unique situation.
Now, if you're wondering why most Japanese people simply do not want or care about their incredibly strong passports, it all boils down to the fact that a significant number of them simply do not plan to ever travel outside of Japan. According to recent research, as many as 35% of Japanese people do not plan to ever travel outside of the country. And that share, at 35%, is the highest for any country in the world. And it's more than double the share of the second country ranked in the research. So think about it. The primary purpose of an international passport is to travel. But when as many as 1/3 of the people in the country do not plan to ever travel outside of that country, then I guess it makes sense that they don't care about getting their passports. According to the same research, the most common reasons why Japanese people do not plan to travel outside Japan include cultural factors like the fact that they place more value on exploring their own country and culture over traveling elsewhere, and also economic factors like the high-pressure work environments in Japan, where taking time off isn't exactly always encouraged or even easy to do, which makes planning a long international trip or vacation pretty tricky.
In 2017, one survey found that despite being entitled to 20 days off per year, Japanese workers left 10 of those days unused, topping every other country in the survey.
In fact, death from overwork is so common in Japan that there is even a word for it, karoshi. It simply means death by overwork.
But there are also other factors that explain why Japanese people don't seem to want to travel outside of their own country. Like having a super low crime rate, which means the country is mostly safe, and also having one of the best health systems in the world. But looking beyond these factors, there is another one that's even more significant and can explain Japan's low passport collection rate. And that is the makeup of its population. The bottom line here is Japan is the oldest country in the world, which means it has the highest share of elderly citizens for any country on the planet. As of 2020, 41% of Japan's population was older than 55, and 29% was older than 65. That's incredibly high and is obviously higher than anywhere else in the world. And it's one of the reasons why Japan's incredibly strong passport is going to waste. Because research and common sense suggests that younger people are more likely to be interested in traveling around the world, and so they are more likely to have and use their passports. And the crazy thing is, this problem is only going to get worse. Japan's population is declining faster than every country in the world, And the sad truth is, the country will get older and fewer people will want those passports. Another thing to explore here is why exactly is Japan's passport so powerful? Or better yet, how about we answer the question, what makes a passport, any passport, powerful at all? And the best place to start is to explain how the strength of a passport is determined. Every year, a global ranking of passports is published with countries ranked based on something called a visa-free score. This score essentially tracks the number of countries that holders of that passport can travel to without needing to apply for a visa. Now, if you've ever applied for a visa, then you know how much of a hassle this is. From filling out applications that can feel like they're a million pages long, to showing up at embassies for in-person interviews, and then hoping to God that whoever is interviewing you is in a good mood, because in the few minutes that interview will last, that person is in full control of your life. Well, at least in terms of getting a visa. But visa-free access means not having to go through this draining and often humiliating process. And so to recap, the ranking is based on a visa-free score. And according to research, there are two key factors that result in a high visa-free score and a more powerful passport. The first is income. Countries that have a higher GDP per capita typically get more visa-free access to travel around the world. And this makes sense, because most countries are happy to welcome citizens from wealthier countries who are likely to spend more on tourism and investment. The second factor is insecurity. Countries that are at war or experience a lot of violence, insecurity, and terrorism typically have low visa-free access to the rest of the world, because citizens from those countries are regarded as high risk for overstaying their visas. And so, in summary, income and insecurity are the two key factors that make a country's passport powerful. In the case of Japan, it's one of the richest countries on earth, with the world's third largest economy, and at the same time, it is one of the most peaceful countries in the world. These two key factors result in a really high visa-free score for Japan and a very strong passport. But then again, what's the point of having one of the most powerful passports in the world if nobody wants it?